From CBS News Bay Area, this is the Evening Edition.
Well, we begin with the storm bringing record amounts of rain to parts of the Bay Area. Good evening, I'm Ryan Yamamoto. The downpours not as quite as intense today, but still causing a lot of problems. Santa Rosa getting absolutely hammered by this storm. This is a live look from our Hopper Road right now, where the water has mostly receded after flooding a parking lot. That water got so high, patients had to evacuate a medical center with the help of first responders. We'll have a live report in just a minute. In the meantime, Santa Rosa Fire reporting parts of the city just had their second wettest 24-hour period in the last 120 years. More than 6 inches of rain in a single day. And here's a live look across our region right now while the North Bay is getting soaked. Some areas of the South Bay, well, they've barely had a drop of water during the past 2 days. First Alert Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagan tracking the trouble spots and when the heaviest rains will return. In the South Bay, well, they're probably going to get hit after this.
Still waiting in the South Bay, but it's going to be on its way as we head through the day tomorrow. So you've been kind of waiting and kind of anticipating this. It's still just raining buckets in the North Bay. Let's take a look at First Alert Doppler. And the rain, once again, like yesterday, largely concentrated along and north of Interstate 80. And there are some heavy downpours in the North Bay. We'll zoom in for a closer look. We still have that light to moderate to occasionally heavy rain falling, especially in some of the higher elevations of northern Napa County. In the yellow boxes here, those are flood warnings. Most of the North Bay is within a white box. That's a flood advisory. So the hierarchy is flood advisory is the lowest threshold, then it's flood warning, and then it's flash flood warning. Flood warning means that there is flooding occurring, but it's not widespread. Flash flood warning is when widespread and potentially life-threatening flooding is occurring. We don't have any of those warnings at the moment, but it's something we're going to be continuing to watch as we head through the rest of this evening as the rain continues to fall. Breaking the action right now from the Golden Gate southward. Again, south of I-80, very little action until you get into the higher elevations down the peninsula and into the Santa Cruz Mountains. We'll zoom back out and put everything in motion, and just that fire hose of moisture continues to be directed at the North Bay. It is going to drift a little bit farther to the north as we head to this evening and tonight. Here's how much rain has added up so far. Over 16 inches of rain in Venado. That's in northern Sonoma County to the northwest of Santa Rosa. But Santa Rosa itself is approaching 11 inches of total rain. Over 6 inches of rain for San Rafael. An inch and a third already in Ben Lomond in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and 3/4 of an inch of rain for San Francisco, but still nothing in San Jose. Rain, one aspect of the system. We're concerned about wind with these atmospheric rivers, and another wind advisory goes into effect at 10 o'clock tonight. That continues through 10 o'clock tomorrow night for the coastline and the higher elevations of the Bay Area. That's where power outages are going to be most likely, but be prepared for that possibility. Make sure everything is charged up, and with the amount of rain that's going to surge across the Bay Area tomorrow, we're going to talk about how much and the flooding potential coming up in the full forecast.
All right, thanks, Paul. Now let's head to Kenny Choi live in Santa Rosa, where we're seeing some widespread flooding problems, including the flooding of a medical center parking lot. Kenny, can you hear me? Can you see me right now? It looks like it's a lake outside.
You do it.
Well, in the meantime, we'll just stay here.
To stretch. He's getting the IFB right now. And then call me. Or do you want me to just...
Localized flooding. Okay, well, right now, a huge... well, the heavy downpours and localized flooding led to a lot of uncertainty, especially for families who came to this medical facility for what they thought would be routine appointments. One woman we spoke to... excuse me, I forgot. Where are we going right now? Okay, this is a rescue in Sonoma County this afternoon. This was a scene on Green Valley Road in Grayton. A little earlier, you can see that car stuck in the middle of the flooding. The driver had to be rescued by firefighters while a tow truck pulled the car out of the water. And just on the outskirts of Santa Rosa, a man had to abandon his car earlier this morning when he drove into the floodwaters on Slusser Road. So as we check now back in with Kenny Choi live in Santa Rosa, where they're seeing widespread problems, including the flooding of a medical center parking lot that looks like a bit of a lake behind you, Kenny.
Yeah, Ryan, the conditions are a little bit different right now. You can see right behind me, there's a lot of water that's still coming through. It essentially gets trapped right here, and that's what we saw throughout the day. There's a parking lot adjacent to this stream of water that's pouring in. Earlier today, it was a completely different story as you take a look at some of the video of the flooding surrounding this Hampton Inn and Suites, as well as the Sutter Oncology Center. There was a lot of uncertainty as there was a lot of localized flooding. So for a lot of the families who had appointments here, were just concerned about some of their family members inside earlier today.
She came here for an appointment, and when her appointment was over, this was completely flooded, so she can't get out.
All right, so here's what's happening right now. Right behind me, there is a car that is still stuck. I just spoke to the gentleman who owns that car. That car has been here throughout the day. There's actually a tow truck to my left right here, about to pull into this area to take that car out. This gentleman here says that he parked the car. You could see, as our photographer is going to spin around, you can see some of the water levels. The water levels have receded significantly, but that water going up to about halfway to that tire. The owner of that vehicle tells me that water actually got inside that car. So that water level was significantly higher, reaching to the seats. And that is essentially what has happened to so many of the people here that have been impacted. Their cars were stuck. They weren't able to get to them. Again, somewhat of a chaotic day for so many of the people here. Eventually, that woman who was taken out by Santa Rosa Fire, her mom made it out safely. She's glad that her mother made it out safely. And so a little bit of a sigh of relief for so many of these people. The Santa Rosa Fire Department tells me that they initially had wanted to deploy a boat, but then assessed the situation once again. And then they decided to use a large truck to get the 83-year-old wheelchair-bound mother out safely here today.
All right, thanks, Kenny. Choi reporting live in Santa Rosa. In San Rafael this morning, the oak tree came toppling down, taking out some power lines with it. Our Kara St. Cyr is live. And Kara, you've been talking to neighbors dealing with all this damage. What are they saying and what are they telling you?
Right. So the people that are living in this neighborhood are pretty accustomed to situations like this. Now, it's been a quieter day in this part of Marin County than in other parts of Northern California. The rain has been coming in and out, sometimes lighter, sometimes heavier, but the wind has really been a threat. So I'm going to move out of the way so you guys can see a little bit of what happened here. So this is a large oak tree that fell from this house, knocked over that fence. Luckily, they've got a wall here, and just some interesting backstory. That wall was actually put here after a mudslide in this neighborhood. So luckily, it kept the tree from spilling into the neighborhood. It knocked some of those power lines off. I actually got to stand on that balcony earlier today and really got to survey the scope of the damage. That fence is going to have to be completely redone. And the people here say that they're really bracing for the rest of this weather. They really don't know what to expect. At 4 a.m., Elise Leyland heard loud winds and hard rain thrashing outside of her home in San Rafael. Within minutes of the initial wind gusts, the power was out.
Didn't actually hear the tree. I didn't even feel it fall, but I saw the wires of the, going up this way. They started going like this, and then all of a sudden I didn't have electricity.
The power outage was caused by this tree in her neighbor's yard. Strong wind gusts pushed the large oak into her neighbor's fence before crashing into the power lines above. The transformer blew, leaving Elise and some of her neighbors in the dark.
And the street light wasn't on across the street for me, in a lot of the houses.
Phil Liddell, who lives down the street, says this part of the neighborhood is especially prone to mudslides and fallen foliage during rainy season.
This is what we live with on the hillsides of Marin. 2 years ago it was something else. Yesterday evening it was a tree. Tomorrow it'll be something else.
Marin is one of the North Bay counties taking waves of wind and rain from the atmospheric river currently pounding Northern California. Flooding, downed trees, and power outages all possible in the coming days, as more rainfall is expected tomorrow and into the weekend. So far, PG&E is reporting 70 outages within Marin County, with most concentrated in San Rafael and unincorporated areas. Elise says trees near her home have never fallen this closely.
If you have trees on a hillside and the wind, you have a lot of wind, it strengthens them in that way. But I don't know, that one is so healthy looking, it's really sad.
The Marin Fire District is asking that any fallen trees be reported immediately and that people stay away from all power lines, even if they look harmless. A new transformer was installed at the site where the tree fell. Now Elise says she's ready to ride out the rest of the storm. All right, so like I was saying earlier, the weather here has been pretty light besides the wind, but I'd like to emphasize that we don't know how much more rain is going to come, how much more wind is going to come. There's said to be more coming, so you want to make sure that you're safe and that you make sure that trees, things like this, move debris, all of that. Just be safe and just don't take any risks. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Kara. We can see more and more trees coming down as the ground gets more saturated. This is in Forestville, where a massive tree fell onto a house. At least one car also getting hit and also taking out some power lines. One person was taken to the hospital. And the storm continues to slam the far northern part of the state with some heavy snow. Look at this. A man up on Mount Shasta shot this video of multiple cars under inches of snow just as he and his dog are pushing through that fresh powder. The National Weather Service's latest estimate shows as much as 18 inches of new snowfall above 4,500 feet. And the rain is really coming down to our north as well. That's where Wilson Walker joins us live in Hopland by the Russian River with a look at what they're dealing with. How's it looking out there, Wilson?
Absolutely. It's been raining pretty solid for a day and a half.
On this second day of rain, Lori Tyson watched the creeks in her Ukiah neighborhood rise.
Wow, that's higher than usual.
And for a place that sees plenty of rain, the past 26 hours have been unusual.
We get a lot of rain, but this is kind of different because it's been really steady.
Yeah, I like to come out and check out the storm when it's storming.
This is a good one?
That's a pretty good storm, yeah.
Out on the coast, the surge off the Pacific was the kind of thing worth stopping to take a look at, even for lifelong Fort Bragg residents like Jim Matson.
Been some pretty good gusts here every once in a while. It rocks the car.
Traffic signs warned people to avoid driving if possible, and in the hills, Caltrans worked to keep roads cleared of debris, but as the rain adds up, the focus is shifting more to waterways that are starting to surge, and ground that is quickly becoming saturated. Runoff is now moving in every direction.
But this creek goes around and it goes through the neighborhood. The Russian River is down there and stuff, and it's probably really full.
Looking at the river, man, it's rising really fast.
And one focus is the Russian River in Hopland, expected to reach minor flood stage on Thursday night and rise into Friday afternoon.
This is not normal, no. It's come up really, really quick.
For 2 days of rain.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be a heck of a couple days here.
All right, behind me, drifting into the dark as night sets in. Oh, I've lost my light. I apologize, Ryan. Again.
That's okay, Wilson. You know, we're having a lot of technical difficulties today, and I'm going to blame the rain because anytime rain gets into the electronics just go crazy. So if we can't get you a live shot, that's absolutely okay. So Wilson Walker reporting up north. In the meantime, check out the current power outages. The map shows they remain scattered all across the Bay Area, even some in the South Bay where it has not rained. As of a half hour ago, just under 4,000 Bay Area customers were in the dark, and we'll likely see more when the storm intensity picks up tomorrow. Also, maybe our cameras are going to fall apart out in the field once again. But in the meantime, half a dozen schools are closed again tomorrow in Sonoma County. Stay with us for the coverage of the atmospheric river and the fallout as we track the next wave on the way tomorrow. You can find updates on our website at KPIX.com and the CBS News app.